and you've got 5 more to go. So let's just, if we can, then Rhonda will direct me through the process. I guess we need a roll call and those kinds of things.
Yes, ma'am. Miss Bailey?
Here.
Got
Dr. Table? Miss Coleman?
here.
Mr. Cox? Dr. Davis? Miss Grubb?
Here.
Dr. Henderson? Miss Lawson?
Here.
Miss Talbert? Miss Talbert? Her picture's on the screen. Miss Merrick's and Mr. Powell. You have 5, which does not represent a quorum, but as according with the agenda, you can go into executive committee.
Okay, I would like to move that we go into an executive committee so that we can make best use of everybody's time. Thank you for the roll call. And next we have the certification of the virtual thing.
Andrew, can you
Somebody, yeah.
can you make, I need share screen permissions.
You have it now.
Thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you. Okay. This is just notification of certification of a virtual meeting. Is there anything I have to do with that? I don't think so, correct?
No, ma'am, you do not.
That's great. All right, moving on to any introductions and announcements. Okay, no introductions, no announcements this morning. Approval of the minutes from December 5th, 2020. I hope you've had a time to see them, read through them, and if so, I'd like to have a motion and a second. And please remember, we need to give our names so that we know who has made the motion in the second. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Mary, I motion for approval of the minutes.
This is Ms. Talbot. I say.
Okay, thank you. It's been moved and seconded. The minutes be approved. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. All right. Good job. Moving to public comments. Are there any public comments?
I haven't received anything.
Thank you, Andrew. Good. And then moving right along to the program updates. And this is on these wonderful PowerPoints. So I think the first one is Ms. Underwood, the Louisiana Savings Program update.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hi. As you can tell, we've got all of our the START programs listed there with the number of active accounts at the close of October, as well as the balances also on those days at the end of the month of that month. The next slide will show the K-12 disbursements that were made from START accounts in October, as well as the student loan payments that were made from START accounts during October. There were no apprenticeship programs paid during that month. Right now in START, we're gearing up for end of the year deposits. We're of course urging our account owners by social media as well as our websites to please mail in their deposits early or electronically. We will have a lockbox available the last week of this month for check deposits. But we will not be doing our sit down in person collecting deposits as we have in the past, of course, due to COVID-19.
Yeah.
So that's our main focus right now is end of the year deposits and as well as disbursements. And things have been going smoothly. We're kept up the business of START through these adverse conditions for sure.
I know, I commend you all for your work. Does anybody have any comments or questions for Terry on those programs? Thank you. Next, moving to public information and communications update, Ms. Francis.
Good morning. So I wanted to just highlight our recent presentations. We had Ebony Holmes, our program administrator at LOSFA. She collaborated with the Louisiana Department of Education to provide program updates for their fall 2020 virtual counselor institutes through Zoom. And there was a total of 3 virtual institutes were held over the course of 2 days with 581 counselors in attendance. And also our public information officer, Scott Burke, he partnered with the offices of financial aid at Louisiana State University and Northwestern State University to host 4 virtual TOPS retention sessions to over 400 students enrolled at LSU and Northwestern to inform students of the necessary requirements to keep their award after each semester. And also before moving on, I just wanted to acknowledge that since we've transitioned to working remotely, we've had a total of 517 virtual office hours combined between public information and communications and the START program. And also we had a combined total of 196 virtual events, including field outreach services. So 517 virtual office hours and 196 virtual events. Rhonda, you can go to the next slide. And then here, so my LOSFA College advocate. So Chair Coleman, we wanted to just follow up with you and the rest of our advisory board members just to let you know that we did send the My LOSFA College Advocate introductory video to our lawmakers to share with their families in their districts about the college admissions process. And out of 144 emails sent, 85 emails were opened. So we're still monitoring social media to see if they're promoting the video, but we definitely reached out to lawmakers to get that word out about the video.
That's great.
And that's all I have.
Does anybody have any questions, other comments? Hopefully more lawmakers will attend to their duties and pay attention there. Thank you. Next, we have the Field Outreach Services update. Dr. Cobb.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So in this update, we'll go over our sector mentoring, some resources we've developed for middle and high school students, Unlock My Future portal, some newsletters, a partnership highlight, a campaign highlight, initiative highlight, Connect to Success event highlight, and another campaign highlight. Next slide, please. So as an update, we had shared before that we are doing some sector mentoring for 3 industry sectors, accounting, nursing, and engineering. And this is a snapshot of the actual promotional items that our communications team developed for each one of those actual sector meetings and when they're actually being held. So far, we have 5 accounting majors, 33 nursing majors, and 18 engineering majors who are actually attending these mentoring sessions. And the really the neat thing about this is we have all of the institutions that you see on the screen, actually students from these institutions represented who are receiving mentoring from the professionals, and
Wow.
4 of the systems actually participating in this. And you have students from freshmen to students who will be recently graduates of these programs, and they are connecting with industry professionals, other practitioners, and folks who can actually get them a seat at the table, whether it be internships or jobs. So we're really pleased and excited about this this particular initiative. On the other side of the screen, you'll see it says resources for middle and high school students. These 2 flip books were created by our content team, led by Dr. Bruce Craig. He is a retired industry professional. He worked with the team to actually develop these. These are books that went out to all our schools that we support electronically and hard copy, so that students understand how to, again, connect their aptitude or what they need to be doing to their future careers and programs of study. We made sure to that there were versions for both middle and high school students. So something for everyone. So we've received some really great feedback from these. Some schools actually ordering more copies for their students. At the bottom of the screen, on the right side, you see an update on Unlock My Future. That is our website that actually helps students through aptitude or videos or more information about careers that they are matched to, that they would like to pursue. In October, I wanted just to share a little bit of the analytics with you all. As you can see that, we had a really heavy spike in users on some days in October, but that was definitely attributed to events that we did virtually with schools, cross-curricular events where we actually work through the classrooms virtually to introduce students to careers according to their aptitude. And also with our LCAM events. So, October was LCAM, Louisiana College Application and Louisiana College Application and Access Month. And so we definitely don't want students just to complete applications without actually understanding which institutions have their programs of study that are matched to them according to their aptitude. So wanted to share that with you as well. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, thanks. Okay, so this slide lets you know, okay, so on the left side, newsletters. So there are 2 newsletters that our division actually working very closely with our communications team, Brittany's team, developed. And we wanted to make sure, now that everything is more virtual, that our schools and our college access professionals in the field actually had the technical assistance, the information in an easy way. And not only them, but also our parents. So we've launched this fall 2 newsletters. The first one, the Early Readiness Insider, are for our middle and high schools. And it has all types of information that you need to support your students through our programming if you're working in the field. So we have that. Also, we have the family engagement newsletter, which we're very excited about. It's so important for our families to be engaged. So we're making sure that we send families information once a quarter. And this initiative was led by one of our regional coordinators, Chantrinice Davis, with our parent liaisons who are working in the field. So very excited about that. In this partnership highlight here, wanted to definitely give a shout out to LSU and Southern, and next up will be BRCC. We're part of the Capital Area Promise, that collaborative partnership to make sure that, everyone in our community, in the local community for this particular initiative, knows that, hey, there is a way to actually go to college. And there are resources available to them in the community. So with that being said, both LSU and Southern has actually held FAFSA completion, virtual FAFSA completion or financial aid nights, which have been a success, both of them. And wanted to definitely highlight that. And I know next up will be BRCC. All 3 of these institutions are a part of the Capital Area Promise campaign. On the right side of the screen, you actually can see our FAFSA Now highlight. One of the things that as you know, is very important as we're launching these campaigns, is very important for our schools to know, how are you doing? Especially our schools who have actually signed up for the early FAFSA campaign. So these schools know that they need to, or have agreed to get as many FAFSAs completed by February 1 of next year. So what we've been doing is making sure that we send their shout out if they're doing, you know, really well. And we definitely wanted to share this this data with you with these schools who are doing an amazing job. This, as you know, these presentations are prepared well in advance, but definitely wanted to, you know, show you the schools who are part of the campaign who are doing a great job. Next slide, please. And finally, as you may have heard in our initiative highlight, this is positive behavior support. So you may have heard that, you know, because, you know, many schools are using the online method, you know, truancy becomes a problem. So attendance, you know, and so what are we doing? Well, even before COVID, we would do an initiative called positive behavior support. So what are we doing that? Why are we doing that? What is the reason? Because we want to support good behavior. Attendance is so important, and it's now more than ever it's important. So what I wanted to, you know, let you all know, update you on, is that we're still doing this, right? Wow. This is some data that this was from last school year, but this is the power of this type of campaign. And this is the same type of campaign we're doing now to try to combat attendance problems, discipline problems. And as you can see through this data, it does work. Especially, you know, the circled data here, you know, from 138, you know, in terms of referrals to 32. Hey, it's not 0, but it's definitely not 138, because you can see 138, you had some repeat offenders in September of 2019. So, you know, just to let you know that we are doing this. And this particular campaign, believe it or not, was it was donuts. So they would receive donuts and juice. How about that? You know, so definitely doing what, you know, we need to do in terms of supporting our students, because if we're going to have them qualify for TOPS or complete their FAFSA or college applications, they need to show up. So wanted to share that. Wow. And on the bottom portion of this, you know, we've been talking about connected success, and just wanted to highlight one of the events that Southeastern recently did. It's Style Ed is their way to connect their faculty with teachers. So we had about 9 teachers who went on their campus and they followed the social distancing and all the protocols a couple weeks ago. And they actually unpacked these MakerBot sketch 3D printers. And the faculty, they had like 9 faculty. Wait, I'm saying 9. It was 9 teachers and 6 faculty who actually worked with the teachers. And all of the teachers were STEM teachers, so science and math teachers, working with the science and math professors to actually unbox these printers and go through these interactive exercises of how to actually use these to teach their students. So very excited about that. And this is not a one and done. So this is, they're constantly getting mentored, getting PD on this. They're getting more and more in terms of how to use these with their students. And not only these, they get robotics kits, aquaponics kits, chemistry models. So they're getting other things as well to help them make learning more interesting for their students and interactive for their students. And finally, on the right side of the screen, I know you talk about our Signalvine texting campaign, but I just want to give you a snapshot of the groups that we have that we're actually texting. So we're texting not only high school students, we're specifically texting our mentoring students as well. So students who middle and high school who have opted in, and it's been approved for them to receive mentoring from us. We're also doing 7-year services text messaging. So those are our Gear Up students who are in their first year of college, Trailblazers, or our leaders, our college access leaders who are normally seniors. So we're texting them. And also our newest initiative is our family engagement initiative that we're so proud of, that we're actually texting parents as well now. So that's what I have. Thank you so much.
Are you sure you don't have, this is fantastic. And it is my hope that you and your staff and everybody that you work with gives you all the thanks that you deserve, because that you group, you're truly making a difference if people will participate in these things. And I want to thank you for all that you do. Any others have any comments for Dr. Cobb or questions? Okay, scholarship and grants update.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Our first slide is on program updates for the best tuition for teachers billing update. For the fall, we processed all the payments. There were 7 recipients for $6,445.46. And that would end out the fall semester. So we'll just be waiting for the spring 2021 recipients to be selected by the Department of Education. They'll forward those names to us. Then we work with the post-secondary schools to pay the tuition for those teachers who are getting training in the STEM fields. On the GOLD grant, our total allocation was $29.4 million. For the fall, we have received billings for $14.1 million. So the remaining balance is $15.3. The schools will, most of them have done their billings for the fall. The spring semester will start after the 14th class day has elapsed, or the 9th class day for Louisiana Tech. Next slide. The John R. Justice update. Public defenders, we had 11 applications across the 5 circuits. We've done all of the distributions for the public defenders, and we've dispersed $19,500. On the prosecutor side, we had 11 applications. We've received 9 service agreements. We're waiting on 1, and that will complete the processing for John R. Justice. We've been having a couple of hiccups with that program because the federal government changed from the system we were using to a new system called Just Grants. So they've been extending some deadlines because it's hard to access everything when they first reopen. On the Go Youth Challenge program, for those students who are receiving the who went through the Go Youth program with National Guard, we awarded 14 recipients at 8 different schools, and those include the schools in the LCT system as well as the 4-year colleges. And that award amount was $28,265.62. Are there any questions about any of the programs that I mentioned? Bestie, Go Grant, John R. Justice, or the Go Youth Challenge?
Anyone have any questions, comments? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And next we have our executive director's update.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, good deal. Thank you. All right. So the first thing that we're looking at, these were Board of Regents data requests that we wanted you all to be able to look at as a result of the publication of the 1202 report during their meetings. Okay, next slide, Wanda. Okay, the first one, we had a question about the validity of the data that LOSFA sends to the Board of Regents to develop the 1202 report. Regent Seal asked whether how we knew or how the Board of Regents could be sure that the data LOSFA sent them was valid, and does anybody look at the data? So that's a very serious question. And of course, we take data validity very seriously. So we felt like we should respond to that on the record to the Board of Regents. So here is our attempt at doing that. And I think that our SG communications and Ms. Brown and IT did a very good job of pulling together the points that the items that we provide are not things that LOSFA generates or fabricates, if you would. And fabricate's a strong word, but when you're talking about data validity, the FAFSA data comes to us from the federal government. The ACT data comes to us from ACT as well as the SAT data. The student transcript system data comes to us from the Department of Education. So these are not things that LOSFA can get and files we can manipulate, is the point we were trying to make. And in the award system, we were also making this point that this data is also audited. Legislative auditors can look at this data when they do performance audits. They look at it. The auditors that the Board of Regents put under contract, Postlewaite and Netterville, also look at the data. We also have federal audits of our data and the way that we maintain security with our data. So that's basically what this slide is trying to put in a nutshell as a response to that. Next slide. The next question that we had came from Regent Pryor. He was very concerned about knowing, we normally break up TOPS income data for recipients and eligibles into thirds, like 0 to 50, 50 to 100, or 51 to 100, and then 100 and over. He was very concerned about students whose families make more than $100,000 and how many students were getting TOPS whose families made a significant amount of money. Of course, we all know on this call that the thing to keep in mind is that TOPS is not a need-based program. It's a merit-based program. So in a merit-based program, the income of the student is not a factor. However, the request was made. The commissioner wanted the request done two different ways. The first way is the way we presented it, which if you're asking me about recipients, then I'm going to give you those recipients in basically a frequency distribution and tell you where they lie in terms of income bands that you see to the left. And if you see, the majority of the students are in the 25 to 49.9 category. So those would be students that are lower to lower middle income students. Now, a surprising category that you have is when you look at the 1 million and over, those students, sure, you would think, oh, would you really have that many students that are $1 million income and over? You know, one would think, are those students the ones that can most likely afford to go out of state to any school they want? Well, I would say that this is a glass half full, that you can look at it that way to say, why would they be staying in the state when they can afford to go other places? Well, then TOPS is keeping those students in the state for undergraduate education. So this is the way, what we did is excerpt it and pull for you the number of students and then let the income so that you could see. The commissioner wanted the chart flipped, which I believe Rhonda is included in your packet, by the put the highest income first and then go down. And we can do that, and we have done that. But my concern about presenting that to folks is that, of course, the 1 million is going to be at the top, right?
Yeah.
So what happens when they look at that and don't even look at the numbers below it? Right? You just get stuck on the, you got that many kids making $1 million, when it's like, you do, where their families make $1 million, but that's not where your largest distribution of students comes from. So these are recipients for the purpose of brevity of this presentation, but you have eligibles and recipients broken out for you in your presentation. So next slide, Rhonda. The next thing the commissioner wanted done was she wanted the TOPS Tech recipients broken out from the TOPS OPH. And here you see the same thing. We did recipients for you in this excerpt. You have eligibles and you have both the student count and income highest to lowest and students highest to lowest. This is students highest to lowest. And again, the same trend. Actually, even more students at the very lowest bands of income from the 0 to 24,999 with respect to TOPS Tech being eligible. So these are recipient counts. All right, next slide. The next thing that we were asked for, this is, I believe, this came from Regent Solomon. And his question was basically of the students that, of course, 1202 gives a lot of attention to students who lose TOPS. and who were canceled. And they did the statistic that 82%, I think of 81, 82% of the students that are canceled for hours. Well, that's 82% of the students that are canceled, but that's not 82% of all of the students on TOPS. So what we tried to do here, and his question was specifically, how much money is, and this is a quote, wasted on those students? Well, the point that we tried to make is if it's a merit-based program and the student is eligible for the program, then are you really wasting money on a student by paying them when they're eligible? Because when that student at any point in time is no longer eligible, as when with any merit-based scholarship, any athletic-based scholarship, any need-based scholarship, if you stop meeting the criteria, then they're not going to pay you anymore. So, you know, we kind of take issue with the fact that that is money wasted. However, the question was asked. So we put together, and thank you to legal and Robin and Shauna and Alice's team with IT, as well as SG, for working on this data where we can put it in a concise manner for you. So what we did is to look at the recipients over time, how much money was spent on those recipients, meaning not eligibles, but recipients, of those that were canceled. What is that in proportion to the total number of students? Then how much money did you expend on those that were canceled? How much money when they were eligible did you pay them? And how many of those students got exceptions? Because that was another question. And how much money did you spend while you were paying those students who eventually did get an exception? We know that some students are canceled before they ever, get an exception before they're ever canceled because they simply asked for one before that time. Or a student that was going to get an exceptional educational opportunity, they're going to ask for that before they ever cancel because they want to know that this is approved before they take the semester off. So we stuck with simply the students, the percentages and the dollars, and then you'll see the asterisk in 18, 19, and 19, 20 is because those could be students where exceptions are still being processed, which is why your totals will not be proportionate to other years. Then we thought it important or critical to make another note at the bottom to reinforce the point that top students are only paid the award while they're eligible. Once they're canceled, they are not paid again unless they're granted an exception for cause. And then we also wanted to make the point that the data show that whether students retain the award or whether they kept the award or they didn't keep the award, during their post-secondary education, if they receive TOPS at any time, they're still completing their courses of study at a rate of an approximately 80%. So then the next chart, if you advance the slide. The next chart basically shows you that to see, okay, what are they completing? Is it a certificate, diploma, associate's, baccalaureate, a master's or above? And so the students that are completed combined with the students that we have that are still enrolled, as you see, is 79.73%. And then we simply did the dollars associated with those same students. And the dollars, again, that note is showing you why you're not gonna match the dollars if you multiplied, because they're going to go to different colleges, they're gonna attend with different programs of study. And so the awards are not going to be one set award because TOPS awards are not one set award. And that should, I think, conclude it. Advance the slide, please.
We have the funding update.
Okay, because the next section is one that we've shared with the commissioner. We are also suggesting that this be shared with the division, with House and Senate fiscal staff, such that we are running up the flagpole that we could be short on TOPS this year and for what reasons we could be short. So Brett, I'm going to let you, and thanks to Brett and to IT and Shauna for putting this together in an understandable manner. So Brett, I'll let you take it away on this part.
Sure thing. As of November 16th, we had spent 50.74% of our current TOPS allocation. That compares to 50.5% last year. And I know I keep saying this, but we spent 99.95% of our total allocation. So last year. So currently we have a 4.2% increase in TOPS, and that compares to a 3.7%. And our current projection can only accommodate a 3.7% increase. So if that 4.2% maintains throughout the year, we will be short on TOPS. You want to go to the next slide? So the biggest difference between this month's presentation and last month is last month I said maybe to the question, do we have enough funding for TOPS this year? The answer now is probably not.
Right.
It would have to take something out of the ordinary that results in fewer awards in the spring. And there aren't many factors that's pointing in that direction right now. A few factors that could cause the retention rates to increase. There could be some students who chose to sit out during the fall due to the uncertainty surround COVID that will in the spring. With still taking the ACT, there could be students who were not eligible but will be eligible in the spring. And with the passage of legislation in the second extraordinary session, there could be fewer TOPS awards canceled in the hurricane affected areas. So there are a few factors that point towards possibly an increase in retention rates. And then things that could cause a decrease in retention rates. There are students who would have lost TOPS after the spring 2020 semester due to inadequate GPA, but was able to maintain because the GPA requirement was waived. Some of those students will not be able to bring their GPA up to a 2.0. So when we know how all this shakes out, not until mid to late February when those spring bills start to come in and we see. The amount spent will change next month because we'll get Louisiana Tech's winter bill, but Louisiana Tech's increase wasn't enough to really give us an indication. We really need the LSU spring bill to be able to make a call on whether or not we're going to have enough TOPS this year.
But we didn't want to wait,
Yeah.
right? And have folks say, why didn't you say something in the fall, even though you won't know something in the spring? So I have brought it to the commissioner's attention. I've sent it to the commissioner, to Terrence and Matthew, in hopes that they will either share it or give us permission to share it. Because again, it doesn't sound like a lot, but $1.6 million is what we're thinking now, but that could change in the spring. So we're just trying to give folks a heads up as early as we possibly can.
Suzanne, forget, what were the region's reactions? Can you share with us what their reactions were to all of the data that you presented to them?
On the TOPS funding shortfall?
Yeah. Well, no, not the TOPS. No, prior to that, all of the things that they had asked for, 1202.
We've sent that to them for to be included in the December packet.
Okay.
What I did was and I have a monthly update each month with the commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
So in my November update, I shared these slides with her, such that if she wanted the data presented in a different format, then she would have the ability to do that before we shared it with the regents. That's when we got the additional request to do, I want it sorted by highest income to lowest income. I want it broken out by TOPS Tech and from OPH. And I want you to show those charts 2 ways. So that was a reaction to that. There was surprise in that we had that many students with $1 million and more. I did express the sentiment of being very cautious about starting down a path of saying money is wasted on students for paying them while they're eligible, because quite frankly, if you took that same approach with the GO grant, because those matriculation rates are so low for those students, then you're basically saying that you're wasting GO grant and Pell on students that are not completing if they're not very well prepared. So again, that's just an aside that we offered. It was noted, and then this is what was asked. The response on the shortfall was, do you mean this year or next year? And I'm like, no, we're talking about this fiscal
Yes,
year as for
yeah.
the shortfall for 1.6,
Yeah.
which could potentially be higher.
All right, that's good. I you know, I hope that the regions, I'm not sure their motivation for all of this, but I think the one really highlight is when you point out, yes, there are students that are getting this whose families make over $1 million, and they are choosing to stay in the state.
That's right.
Now, you know, we need to value those students as much as we value, or we want to say we value. We have a constitutional amendment on the ballot for Saturday, which says, let's add people who to the boards of higher education who don't reside in the state. That I'm just saying, we want to value everyone. And if you have
Yes.
3 kids who could have gone any place and chose to stay in the state with those kinds of financial resources, that's an advantage for the state.
Yes, that's what we felt. And again, I'm not sure if that's the way they're looking at it, but we just tried to present the data in this is what it says, right? And
Yeah.
that's why we showed you all, when you do the student distribution first, you don't have that million jumping out, getting your attention, so that you don't tend to read to the bottom of the page.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. This has been fantastic. Any other comments or questions for either the executive director or Brett? And it's not like there are going to be no extra dollars, and if the federal government doesn't help states that depend on sales tax and those kinds of things, I don't know what the budget shortfall will be.
Yes. And so we wanted to, not be accused of, you should have said something earlier.
Right.
Because again, what we want to, remind people of, this isn't an option to say, oh, you're just short. The legality says I go into pro rata. So
Yes.
if I come up short in the spring, but we've already promised the students by giving them that award letter, then, we've got a mess on our hands of saying, ooh, I'm sorry, I'm not going to give you all of that award. So when I think that's the challenge with that. And we just need to keep reminding folks of I understand what the law says, but this is the logistics of implementing that.
Yes. Yes. And if it's something, because if they can be prepared, the division and the commissioner, if they can be prepared, then they can make wise choices. And
that's right.
It seems to me this is not the time in the spring to do that. They need to find a way other than to cause more turmoil, if there can even be more turmoil.
Yes.
Right.
And we would want to let students know if we think there's a possibility that their award might not be paid in full, then this is the time to begin saying that. So we will, again, we have brought it to their attention, and we will see.
Thank you very much. Anybody else have other comments or questions?
Okay. The next slide, I'm going to let Robin handle this one, but just giving a short segue. We said to the commissioner, we said to the executive council of the Board of Regents regarding the COVID exceptions. As you know, the law that specified COVID exceptions was specifically for academic year 1920, not for academic year 2021. However, COVID did not make an exit for academic year 2021. So students that may have had an automatic, if you would, in air quotes, hall pass in 1920, do not have an automatic hall pass in 2021. So we said, we will keep track of this. We will continue to let you know if the number of COVID exceptions begins to escalate and what type of exceptions we're getting with respect to COVID. because you all see them first, of course, but just to say, what say you? Do you want to bring this to the attention of the governor for executive order? Do you want to invoke, do you think there's authority under the laws that were passed to say, hey, this is part still of a natural disaster? Again, those are conversations we're having with the regents, but what's within the LOSFA and advisory board's ability to deal with this in a more expeditious manner. This is what we wanted to discuss with you all today. So Robin, if you would take it from here.
Yes. So as you have seen, if you've looked at the packet, we've got yet more exceptions for COVID on the agenda as our second action item today. And more are coming in each day. And what is interesting is that we are getting questions from students, and in their emails, I heard from so-and-so, or a friend of a friend told me that they got an exception for this fall. And my grades are slipping because this online environment is not working for me. Can I sit out spring 2021? Mm-hmm. And we are getting more and more questions to that effect, and more I heard from so-and-so. So what we think we are going to do is next month, we will bring you some rulemaking to make the COVID exceptions part of the objective circumstances that will be handled in-house. The content of those will be what you have seen and what you have approved to be sent to the Board of Regents and what the Board of Regents has approved. More and more we are getting, it's the online environment, we are getting documentation just from a parent saying my child's grades are slipping and they don't do well online. We have had several where the broadband or Wi-Fi is not sufficient because they, in addition to college students at home, they also have K-12 children. Yes. And they ask the college students, can you withdraw from a class or two? Because the K-12 students don't have that choice. Yeah. They're required by law to attend school if school is open. So the college student is being asked to either withdraw or to decrease their hours so their younger siblings can attend school. So we think it wise to go ahead and just put that into those objective circumstances such that things that have already been approved and for which precedent has set can be done in-house rather than going to meetings and causing the students a lot of angst over the time that it takes. Because a couple of the ones on the list today we received 3 weeks ago. Well, of course, they've had to wait. So they're getting frustrated. I need to know because I need to register for spring if y'all aren't going to grant this. Mm-hmm. And if we process it as objective circumstances, it can be done within 4 weeks in most cases.
Thank you. Robin, did I hear and understand correctly that you think that you can, by rule, take care of this?
Yes, ma'am. We definitely can.
Okay, that's great.
The authority is provided in the statute without any natural disaster or pandemic proclamation. Right. What we would need further legislation or an executive order for would be to provide a blanket exception for all students. Okay. But we do have the authority to make it objective circumstances as the law stands today.
Any questions or comments for Robin on the COVID exceptions? And I appreciate it, and I know the students and they do get anxious, and they have to. I mean, I think the exceptions that came forward this time to be approved show you that. These things beyond their control. Okay, anything else on that? Okay, if not, go next is new business. Is that correct?
One more thing. I'm sorry, Chairman Coleman. We wanted Ms. Brown with IT to be able to share something that an exercise LOSFA is doing in training our employees. We have a mantra, think before you click. And they did an exercise to test just how well our folks are reading and listening to that. And I wanted Ms. Brown to be able to share that with you all.
Okay.
And then that would conclude the executive director's update.
All right, thank you. Ms. Brown?
Thank you, Suwan. So LOSFA has been following the NIST special publication 800-53 for over 10 years now. That's the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And these standards were recommended by the Federal Student Aid Organization. And within those controls, the AT controls are for awareness and training, which requires that we perform security awareness training. Additionally, after last year's OTS attack on the state systems, Act 155 was created in the 2020 regular session to provide cybersecurity awareness training for all state employees and vendors, anybody that's accessing the state systems. So LOSFA has also been doing, like Suwan just mentioned, the Think Before You Click campaign. And this year we invested in a solution called Know Before. It has been helping us to perform like these phishing exercises to test our employees. And I'm pleased to announce that only 4 of our employees actually clicked the link. The industry benchmark for the phish prone is like 15.1%. So LOSFA is well below the average of 4 with 4%. So we're doing really well. We did get some questions like, is this correct? Should I be clicking on this? But that was fine because we expected that. We did kind of like a little test before. We had a guy in IT, Parker Manis, to send an email saying, you know, around the holidays is when it gets really tricky, where people are asking you to click. So we sent that out, and then like the next week, we sent this phishing. And there are, you know, different emails going out to different people. I also wanted to mention that for 2020, our FSA review had no outstanding items for us to resolve. So we're really happy with that because that self-assessment includes 185 controls. We did a self-assessment this year. Last year, we had a visit from the Federal Student Aid. So we're really happy about that. We had no outstanding items. So I just wanted to give you guys an update on the few measures we're following to keep our environment secure.
Oh, thank you. Questions, comments? You should train us all. Okay. So moving on then, after that is new business, and we have proposed board meeting dates for January through June of 2021. And you can see there the meeting dates. Do I have a motion to approve, please?
I so move.
And that was?
Wendy.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. And a second, please?
Barry, second.
Thank you, Barry. All those in favor, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, so moved and approved, and those are the meeting dates. Okay, next we have our exceptions. And I guess that's back to, you've all had it. I guess we need to go through the, is this, here's the better question. Is this the only thing we're going to see? No, there we go. Thank you. There were 10 recommendations for approval. I looked at those. What I found, the student who was already a law student, she was really on top of it. She knew what was going to be her problem. I was quite impressed with that. And then I think I'm remembering correctly, because I don't have the looking at it. We did encounter, isn't this right, the problem with the not too many, but a lot of people in the same household, the K-12 students and the college students all having to use the same and broadband, and it just didn't work. And the college student did defer to her two siblings. Does anybody have any questions or comments about the exceptions? If not, can I get a motion to approve the recommendations, the exceptions as presented?
Christie, I so move.
Thank you. A second, please.
Charmaine Talbot, I second.
All right, thank you, Charmaine. Christie, it's been moved and seconded to approve these exceptions. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Great. And public comment. Anything? Rhonda, Andrew?
I
Andrew?
haven't received anything.
Good. They're probably, I appreciate, I would wish that somebody would say, would really see how much is being done for the students in this state in these extraordinary times. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Charmaine Talbot, I motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Charmaine. In a second, I guess we need that. And
3 seconds.
there we go. And with that, the meeting is adjourned. Have a happy and safe holidays, everyone.
Have a
Thank you.
wonderful holiday, everybody. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.